hotel, wherever. So it does happen that way. I want to play a video of this woman's take on sexual liberation.
The sexual liberation movement was well-intentioned, but turned into a vast overcorrection. I believe the true form of liberation within the realm of sexuality is having society be generally indifferent to your sexual habits. Telling women that it's empowering to objectify their own bodies, that consent is something that is purchasable, that sex work is an easy way to make money that will not have any psychological repercussions in the future, that promiscuity and having sex with a certain level of emotional detachment does no harm, and essentially communicating the message that in order to be properly empowered as females, we have to act in the way that men have been acting towards us, which historically we know is something that we don't like. Being forced into submission and being told that our autonomy is negotiable, being told that your body is a commodity or just something that can be lent out or sold is extremely demoralizing and harmful. Instead of demanding to be respected and valued, I feel like we've attempted to rebrand traditionally disempowering behaviors as empowering to women, falling right into the hands of the men that don't value our personhood.
Does sex make a woman less valuable to a man? Does sexual liberation make a woman less valuable to a man? Carlos, you want to answer that question? I'll ask you first.
Yes. And the reason why I say this because, you know, you said less valuable, right? So yeah, so it's like you're easy. Anybody can have you from that type of, promiscuous behavior. And, yeah, true enough, you're going to get the attention, you're going to get that, but, nobody's going to respect you, because you can be anybody's, I think it was a word back in the time called easy lover, you everybody's friend, there's no loyalty with you. So, yeah, you ain't gonna have, there's no value. Nobody's gonna consider you of value with that behavior, with that type of image, that put off. Not no man of interest that is serious about relationship wise. He's not gonna put value on that. And I don't know no one that deals with just the casual thing. They're gonna put value on that. So yeah, that's my response to it.
So for me, this is going to depend on the individual. When you say, does sexual liberation make a woman less valuable to men?
Pertaining like to her sexual freedom, like the way and how she presents herself, like does that make her feel less valuable to a man who wants?
So you're
a
saying
if
she's very out with herself, that's what you're saying? Because like the way you phrase that, it's kind of vague.
Yeah, it probably did. I probably could have rephrased it, but yeah, in that manner.
So what I would say is that men want women that want their attention, not women that want all men's attention. Right? If I'm going to marry someone, I want them to crave my attention. I want them to appreciate my attention. I don't want them to crave the world's attention.
And most men are like that because we and didn't mean to interject, but I just wanted to be
you're good
to go agree with you because we're more what's ours, what belongs to us.
Territorial, protective,
very territorial, very protective, very authoritative in that area on that. So that's why they used to say, to use the terms, oh, he insecure, or he, that's what we suppose that's who we are.
Yeah, that's what we are.
Not one man is not, but I used to be easy going until I learned that wasn't the right way, because like I tell any man, whatever you give a woman, she's gonna multiply it, whether it's good or bad. So you give her too much room.
Yep.
What you think? I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen, you can do this, and she.
You talking about how they like relate a person they know to like one of their homeboys? Like, yeah, she's easy.
Well, yeah, like I don't mind, man. She can, you can be with her, and she say, okay, well, I want to be with the whole house. Now he like, because whatever you set the tone for, And a lot of times those women that are already like that is because the person that they had that main interest for, they set that tone for them. And they go on with that understanding. And you should treat everybody differently, but unfortunately, it's not going to happen that way.
And and women are territorial too. Like, so it's understandable I think it should be understandable to
they're more
men.
They're more commit.
Yeah, but you put another woman in the room with the guy that you know what I'm saying that you're claiming is yours, and she's like exuding sexual behavior. You think you're going to let her? The woman's not going to let you stay. Like, she's going to interject real quick and tell you need to tighten up, especially if you're in a public place. They either going to leave, that woman going to get cursed out, or she going to be told about herself. Like, listen, go on somewhere with that. Especially if it's like catching the attention, because rightfully so, like, men's eyes tend to wander just as females do. So, you're looking, even though you may not engage, but we're not blind. You see what I'm saying? Like, people can see, but even, like I said, as a man, he should conduct himself in a respectful manner. But yes, women are territorial as well. So I think that, depending if you're looking to be taken serious and you carry yourself in that way, I do think it does drop your value as a woman, because it's just not going to work,
Yeah. I think, and going back to the individual thing, I think that, when we're younger, we all kind of experiment, mess around, and some people more so than others. That's why I kind of go back to the kind of judging it by the individual, because, I think a young woman has the right to go and sow her oats, just like a young man. But when you hit the age where you start having children, you hit the age where it's time to be a grown up, right? At that point, if you're still out with yourself, if you're still behaving like a immature, person, then it definitely hurts your value in the market. Because again, if I'm settling down with somebody, I don't want them to be able to still be seeking the attention of the world. But women's sexual liberation, it's funny that you bring this up as a topic, because the last time we had this discussion, the Amber Rose thing, was one of the clips that you played, and I brought up the flappers, right? The women in the 20s. That was really sort of the beginning of that movement. That the flappers really were the first, cultural thing that occurred that really pushed liberation for women to the forefront. And, that's been 100 years ago. And here we are today. And I think what you're really asking is, has it gone too far? In the 20s, we were debating on whether these girls should be at the saloon or the tavern dancing with the men on a Friday night, right? That was the question. Is that appropriate? And now, half of the internet, half of it, as enormous as this technology is, it's taken over every part of our life. Half the data out there is probably sexual in nature, right? And so the question then becomes is like, the toothpaste is out of the tube, though, isn't it? We can all say that this is wrong and we shouldn't have it this way, but I mean, culture has taken us to this place. We've evolved to this place. Music has played a big part in this, right? Like every kind of music, whether it's rock and roll, hip hop, pop, it doesn't matter. It's all sexual in nature. Movies, everything is driven to sex, right? And to your point, marketing and advertising, also the same way. So it's toothpaste that's out of the tube, though. We can debate it all day about whether we like it or don't like it. What can you really do about it? It's out of the tube. Can't put it back in.
I think, we probably can't put a stop to it. But I do think we can scale it back if we really wanted to. Well, individually, we would have to. But now, as far as these platforms, because like I said, like I can get on Instagram right now, and I guarantee you, if I wanted to see some tail, I could, because there's literally pages that are like literally for promotion that promote nothing but sexual imagery. And I mean, it's very revealing to an extent. And I'm like, well, how is that up here? But if you, like I said, you can repost an influencer, you know, or just something, even like, an, I guess, album art. And you can be flagged for it. Like literally, they can say that it goes against guidelines, but it's like, but hold on a minute, because you've got pages that are literally posting every day, and it's the same thing. It's sexual imagery. There is nothing else being posted. So could the platform scale it back? Yeah, if
Yeah,
they're
they
fair
could. You're
to
absolutely
everybody,
right.
but they choose to pick and choose who, you know, they want to hold to task and who they want to just let fly on the
You're
radar.
onto something there. You're definitely onto something there because, you know, the really, really sort of extreme part of this is the hub and OnlyFans, right? I have thought that these other platforms ought to have the same sort of system that we had with cable TV. We had TV 14. TV 14 was in effect PG 13 at the movie theaters, right? And you couldn't get any worse than that on cable television. And these platforms could embrace that sort of standard, a PG 13 sort of standard. And I think that if you really look at like YouTube, what is it, shorts, you don't really find a lot of really sexual content on there. I think that they have sort of done that, and they've even made it to where, you know, content creators need to identify before posting every video whether or not this is for a child or not. And I think they all should embrace that.
Yeah.
Because you need to identify adult content as for adults.
But see, they could if they would, like for instance, YouTube Kids, right? It's an app. I do think that because they have a YouTube Kids app, they should do the same if they want
Right.
For
Why not?
Facebook, Instagram. But how they keep the kids off of there, like I said, identification, uploads, age verification documents stating that you are who in fact you say you are, and this is your age. I mean, we don't like it, but I mean, I've even had to, you know, verify my identity on Facebook to get my account out of Facebook
Right.
jail. Now, will I ever do it again? Absolutely not. I'll delete that page and get another one. But I'm saying there's ways to do it. It's the problem is like sex is literally a widespread interest.
Yeah.
I guarantee you put top 5 thoughts on people's brains, sex is probably in that top 5. Closer, if not number 1, is closer to number 1. But most people probably wouldn't admit it. But literally speaking, like it is. And then even with Pornhub, which I actually have read on that in 2020, when everyone was sitting still, they said that Pornhub actually had was it over 100 and something billion visits, which equated to 42 million people like going on there, right? And I'm like, that's crazy that website, yeah, it's free, but there's a lot of free stuff. You had Facebook is free to us, right? Like we're not paying for it. And you had that many people clicking on the hub.
Well, you make a fair point there. So internet history is such that, like, if you look up the history of the internet, pornography was at the very, very forefront of it. It very quickly took a hold of the technology and utilized it to generate money. And you know, the other thing that can be at play here too sometimes, I think, is your people close to you. Facebook, for example, I don't see a lot, which I purposely try not to engage this content because I don't want my news feeds littered with it. So maybe my opinion is biased here, but I don't see a lot of sexual content on Facebook. And I would suspect that if that's the case for most people, it's because that's where your mom and dad and your grandma and that's where everybody's sort of at, and you don't want that out in the public, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
just that sort of self-regulation of family and community could go a long way. Like the more people that kind of get into TikTok or get into some of these platforms, I feel like the more regulated it has to become, because
Exactly.
it's like you just can't have a free for all there. But
No, you can't, because it goes. I don't feel that kids should utilize any of these apps, and I do think that if they really wanted to, I mean, if the IRS can stop you from hacking their system, you can stop people from getting on Facebook. That is minors, but unfortunately, it's like they want them to be a part of it too. Do I agree with it? Absolutely not. I don't think any child should be on without an adult. I don't think they should. I don't care how like kiddie like you try to make it kid friendly. We've seen situations where even over there was stuff in the middle of these videos, and one of them was like teaching them how to harm themselves.
yeah,
And I remember that was like a big thing, because it was just weird how, okay, it's like a cartoon, these kids are watching it, then all of a sudden a guy pops up on the screen. So I think there's a way around that. I do feel we can scale it back, but to stop it and all, no, it's got too far out of hand. Well, I take that back. You could stop it as far as how the sexual imagery, you could, but it would take for men to disengage, and that's kind of hard to do.
I would say the political party here that probably supports that idea, anytime that they advocate for something, right, of that nature, they get butchered by the media, by everyone. They're trying to take women backwards, right? The Republicans are clearly the political party here that would try to put some sort of policy in place that would force these platforms to do something like that. But the question is, how widely embraced would those policies be by the public at large? We feel this way, but younger people probably don't. And we live in a democracy. So, and unfortunately, you can't have it both ways, right? The women out there that really want this sort of free for all, you can't have that and then also have it censored at the same time. Maybe there's a balance there. I don't know.
Well,
just hearing it all, it pays. We got to look at, because a lot of things they're not going to change or even consider because of what it does. I mean,
Right.
it sells,
Money talks,
everything
yep.
sells. Yeah, porn. I mean, yeah, I'm just saying, but even dealing with, it's just something I don't see that's going to ever become like something that will be normalized. Well, normalizing it, yeah, it's normal now, because you don't really have to go look at the actual sites anymore. It's everywhere now. But what I'm saying is that, so that means it's normalized. It's accepted by the public view. So it's more or less hearing the woman, like hearing the complaints of it. It's not going to be viewed as importance or priority to, they look at it like it sells, it
Yep.
makes money, and you have a lot of people who pay for that, they pay for that,
It's like the whole thought process of like sites that have like pornography and all this stuff, right? It's almost, to me, they're almost like the McDonald's business model. I don't see it going bankrupt anytime soon. Like, unless people decided no more procreation, like we're literally done having kids, we're not even interested in sex anymore. I don't see any of them site. Well, not the hub anyway. Now, other sites probably, due to maybe lack of capital and all that stuff. But as far as just sex in general being able to sell, I don't see it like hitting a low mark. I don't see that happening unless we as people say we're no longer interested. But it is by nature that we are designed to want sex, right? We are by nature, we want to procreate, we want to have children, we want to be in relationships and all those things, whether it's monogamous or it's not. Like, that is in our nature. So it's never going to stop. It's almost like they knew that and created a business plan and executed it, and was like, wow, I never have to work again.
You know, it's not just men that consume this stuff either.
Well, I know women do.
Right. And I mean, all you have to do is look at the 50 Shades of Grey phenomena, right? That was a was a huge hit, and that was not men. That was women. And
it was.
What's sort of interesting to me about that is you have on one side, you have these women that are, you know, probably half the country, at least. If you're talking about, if you take women and you poll them on whether or not they're into this or not, it might be more than half. But, you know, on one side, you have women really consuming this sort of stuff, being into it, liking it, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side, you have guys that are, you know, up for Supreme Court nominations, and you know, they did something in high school that was a little more forceful than the girl liked, and we're trying to ruin his career for it. So, and the women are all acting like he's a monster for it, right? But at the same time, 50 Shades of Grey is like, if you really dig into it, it's way worse than you know. I mean, the whole point of the book is for a man to really dominate. There's no question of consent. It's, I mean, I guess in that situation, consent is sort of like assumed or something. But
actually, coercion is they side eye it, because if you have to coerce someone into sex, you're not really getting a yes. It's kind of a forced yes. And so that's why I said, like, when women are consuming alcohol, like, men, if you want to stay out of jail, best thing for you to do is wait until she sobers up to attempt sexual activity, because she can literally say that, because judges look at the two like they were drunk. So when you're drunk, they do not look at that as you consented, but more as you were coerced into the situation. You know, so it's almost like you might as well catch an R charge, because that's pretty much what if she wakes up and that walk of shame thing, like some people do when they engage in sex with someone who they didn't really give much thought, and they did, because some women have done that, right? They can literally. And now, do I agree with them doing that? No, I don't, because I think if you wanted to have sex with them just as much, but now it's the next day and you kind of have to do the walk of shame, you don't want to, so to feel better, I don't think you should be trying to put them in jail.
Right.
If anything,
that's
watch
wrong.
your alcohol.
Yeah.
Right. And it can potentially ruin someone's life for the rest of their life, especially depending on, like I said, what kind of field they're in. But I think sometimes women do kind of take advantage of that sometimes, whereas you do have men who take advantage of the situation. And I think it's on both sides, but I think women do play a role in just putting certain situations that can potentially cause harm. And again, like I said, I do not condone that. I just want to reiterate that. I don't. Now, do I feel a woman is responsible for being essayed? No. Absolutely not. I don't care. Like I said, she could be naked. It still doesn't give you the right to feel like you own her just because you can see her, or whatever the case may be. I don't agree with that. I'll never agree with it.
Since we're getting into it, let's get into it, right? I'm a single guy, and I can tell you for a fact that the fact that I will tell women early on that I do not drink alcohol, and that I would rather take them to go get coffee as opposed to going out to get a drink, that eliminates me from their dating pool, a lot of them almost immediately, because in order to get to that place, they have to be inebriated. They're dependent upon the alcohol to give them the courage to engage in that. So if they want that, right, they almost have to go and drink. And that's a problem there too, because I mean, that's just saying that you don't have enough value in yourself. You don't see enough value in yourself that you feel confident to engage in that without being inebriated in the process. And for me, I mean, if that's what they need to do in order to feel comfortable with me, then I don't want that, right? Because I don't really feel like that's a win. I don't really feel like that's them.
So then let me ask you this. So do you feel, okay, so let's talk a sexually liberated woman, right? And she, wants to be in your company, and she decides to, consume alcohol because she wants to have sex with you.
Yep.
But she, well, I'm saying she wants to have sex with you. So do you feel that she really feels sexually liberated if she wakes up the next day doing the walk of shame, and then it's like, I was drunk, so I don't want to claim that body. I don't want to claim the guilt or anything. Do you feel like that's her being sexually liberated, or is that her walking away from sexual liberation?
That's her being sexually liberated and blaming it on a substance of why. Right. It's like making an excuse for this behavior.
Yep.
And my point is that me throughout my life, if you drink, like, I don't mind you casually drinking, but you're not going to drink your way in bed with me.
Right.
Because there's too many things that has happened, and blaming things and all of that. No, so I was like, sometime years ago, I had experience, and I made up my mind, won't ever go that route again. Because I want you to be aware, and if you just have them, that's what they do. Blame it on the alcohol, and even that song came out then. Jamie Foxx came out with that. That's what most people do. So if I blame it on the alcohol, it really don't count against me when it does.
It takes
a lot of those people got pregnant. A lot of them walked away with diseases. A lot of them walked away with sexually transmitted demons from other people. So you're going to pay for it, in some sort of fashion or some sort of way. But, at the end of the day, you don't need, why you need a substance? Why do you need something to, influence you to be with me?
Yeah.
If it's not sparked off a natural connection or a pure connection.
I think it's to take the accountability out of, you want to engage in sexual behavior, but you don't want to take this person serious. You're not really interested if they take you serious or not. But it also is like, okay, well, this is kind of, just, to help me ease through it. But and just speaking in sexual behavior, there's another video of a woman who she encourages women to have sexual experience for that matter.